This year in MLB The Show has been a great year for my franchise, which of course was with the Detroit Tigers. It lasted, I want to say, 89 episodes and just concluded this past Monday with us doing the impossible and winning the World Series after 4 great seasons. Now that the Tigers series is over, it's time to start looking about the future in MLB The Show 19. Which team will we be doing for our franchise? So I have a poll for which team we will be doing. The link will be in the description. It might be in the comments as well. We are going to be doing a team in the NL because we've done 2 straight AL teams. So we're going to the National League this year. I put like 5 or 6 teams in the poll. And if you want some insight on who to choose, the rest of this video will be me explaining each team that I'm considering with some gameplay, or you can just vote now if there's a team that you know you really want that's in the poll. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And the first team we are considering for our MLB The Show 19 franchise this season is going to be the New York Metropolitans, or the New York Mets, of the NL East. The Mets are a very interesting team. They have a phenomenal young rotation with guys like Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard. Both of them have been tied to trade rumors, so perhaps one or both of them could be moved in this series, and we could get a King's Haul for them, or we can build around them and turn them into Cy Young contenders. Of course, in the Tigers series last year, we had Michael Fulmer, who ended up winning a Cy Young, and then in the World Series, he pitched a 2-hitter and a no-hitter and was the main reason why we won. So I think we could have some fun with some great pitchers again, as there's Corey Dickerson taking that one deep into left field for a home run, but that doesn't really matter. The Mets have made a number of big moves this offseason. They are not trying to rebuild. They are trying to make a playoff run this year in a somewhat weak NL East. I think that is absolutely the Atlanta Braves division to lose this year. All the other 4 teams are in big question mark situations. You don't really know what's going to happen with teams like Philadelphia and Washington. Will they get star players, or for Washington, will they get their star player back? And the Marlins are obviously in no man's land, so this is where the New York Mets come in, and the Mets will be competing for a playoff spot. Some of the players they've gotten include Edwin Diaz from the Seattle Mariners, one of the best closers in all of baseball. He led the MLB in saves this past year as Josh Bell is up. He won the playoff and World Series MVP in my Tigers series, but that's just besides the point. Edwin Diaz is a phenomenal young closer and will most likely stick around for the whole franchise. The Mets also got Robinson Cano in that trade. Cano, once one of the best players in baseball, has sort of declined, but is still a really solid player. He had a pretty good tenure in Seattle. He does have a gigantic contract, though, and it will be very hard to trade him if that's what we want to do. Some of the other players the Mets got include Wilson Ramos in free agency, one of the better hitting catchers in the majors from the Philadelphia Phillies. I believe Jed Lowry was on Oakland last year, and now he's on the Mets. Lowry's had some pretty good seasons with the A's and should be a solid player. The Mets don't have a lot of great young guys. They do have Dominic Smith at first base, who we did have for one season back in our White Sox series in MLB The Show 17, but we traded him in the Mookie Betts, Andrew Benintendi trade. So he did win Rookie of the Year for us, and I'm excited to potentially play with him again if the Mets are the team we end up choosing. They do need a lot of work in their batting lineup, and they could use a better farm system, but the Mets absolutely have some talent and could compete for a playoff spot early on. The next team we have here is a very interesting team, and that is the Arizona Diamondbacks. I've never really seen a lot of people think of the Diamondbacks as a perfect franchise team, but thinking about it, they really are a perfect team. Now, perhaps the biggest move of the offseason that nobody is talking about is the Paul Goldschmidt trade. I bet half of you don't know this, but Paul Goldschmidt is now a St. Louis Cardinal. Obviously, the talk of the town has been Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, but no one's been talking about the Diamondbacks trading away Paul Goldschmidt, who I want to say has an MVP under his belt, or if not, he's been in the running multiple times for the Most Valuable Player award. Now, with the Paul Goldschmidt trade, it looks like Arizona is headed toward a rebuild. They still do have a lot of trade assets and talent on their roster. They have some good pitchers, guys like Zach Greinke, who at one point was one of the best pitchers in the majors and is still a pretty good pitcher. Robbie Ray has a pretty solid beard, and he's a good player. And then in the lineup, you have some very fun players. Guys like Jake Lamb, one of the better hitters in baseball. Nobody really talks about him, but that guy really has a bat. And there's also some other talented players, guys like David Peralta, Eduardo Escobar, Carson Kelly, one of the bigger acquisitions from the Paul Goldschmidt trade. And the Diamondbacks, they don't have a lot of famous names, not a lot of exciting players, but that's the point. They are in need of a rebuild. They're in need of some change. They're in need of some young talent. And I think the Diamondbacks could absolutely be a team we can consider. And not only that, but for one thing, they have a sick stadium. We can have the roof on as well as off. And then uniform combinations. There's no better team in the major leagues when it comes to uniform combinations than the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are basically the Oregon Ducks of baseball. And what I mean by that is they have so many options, so many cool alternates, so many cool throwbacks. The unfortunate thing with the Tigers series is they had no cool alternates or throwbacks, but the Diamondbacks have a bunch of really cool jerseys, which I think that could be really exciting for a potential Diamondback franchise. We would always look different every game. And yeah, on to the next team. The next team I'm considering is the Miami Marlins. The Marlins have been a team that I have kept my eye on for numerous seasons now. They were on the poll last year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were on the poll the year before. But could this be the year that we finally use the Miami Marlins? The Marlins are going to be having new jerseys and a new logo this year. I'll put them on the screen. I think they are pretty clean, and I think that would make it pretty interesting. I think the thumbnail could get a lot of clickbait views with the new jersey. It wouldn't really be clickbait because they would be the actual jerseys, but you get what I'm saying. The Marlins, to put it lightly, they suck, and this would definitely be the most challenging rebuild, as they have no talent on their current MLB roster. They just traded away JT Realmuto this past week to the Phillies. And what I think was a pretty solid package for the Marlins, getting Jorge Alfaro, a talented young catcher, as well as Sixto Sanchez, who will definitely be a pitcher who will be in the majors by the time we are in the prime of the series. The Marlins have some decent players who could develop into some MLB all-star talent. Guys like Lewis Brinson in center field, who they traded Christian Yelich for, which that trade certainly worked out for the Brewers since Yelich ended up winning the NL MVP this year. But the Marlins have new jerseys. We could always go back to these jerseys for a game or two because I personally really like them. I know most people don't, but I have a different fashion sense than other people. And then the Marlins would easily be the most challenging, the most grueling, definitely the hardest rebuild of them all. And I think the more challenge, the better, because I don't want this to be easy. And every team on this list is a challenge, but the Marlins, they are more of a challenge than all these teams because they're the Marlins. They get nobody go to their games, they have no money, they have no talent, enough said. The fourth team we have here today is the Washington Nationals. The Nationals would certainly be the easiest rebuild of the teams in the poll. However, they would still be interesting for a number of reasons. Of course, the biggest one being that fellow on the right, Bryce Harper, who probably won't be back next year. And even if he is, we could see if Bryce Harper can finally lead the Nationals to a championship, or if they can do it without Bryce Harper. The Nationals have a ton of really good players other than Bryce Harper. Just looking at their five-man starting rotation, you got Max Scherzer, who might be the second best pitcher in the majors just behind Clayton Kershaw. You have Patrick Corbin, who was signed to a $100 million contract from the Diamondbacks. Steven Strasburg, Anibal Sanchez, and Joe Ross. Those are five guys who are really solid. Four of them I think we could build around. Probably not Anibal Sanchez, he's not particularly young. And then the batting rotation, or the batting lineup, sorry. Even without Bryce Harper, there are some really good, really fun players on there. Guys like Trey Turner, really talented young shortstop, super good contact hitter. Brian Dozier just signed with the Washington Nationals. He's a very fun second baseman who can hit for a lot of power. Juan Soto in the outfield, only 19 years old last year. He was phenomenal for Washington. Victor Robles at center field. He is another really young, bright prospect. If the Nationals get Harper back, that would be such a scary outfield of Soto, Robles, and Harper. And even without Harper, Victor Robles and Juan Soto could be the faces of this Washington Nationals team, along with the rotation and some of the other guys. I think the Nationals would be really fun. And while it wouldn't totally be a rebuild, I think it would be a retool. And I think it'd be a very interesting retool, as the team would have a lot of the same players, but it would also have a lot of different players. And I think the Nationals would be a ton of fun. And the fifth and final team we will be looking at is the San Francisco Giants. And one of the main reasons I want to do this team is this is such a clean stadium. They have such clean jerseys. And I think this could be a super fun team aesthetically to do, but the roster itself would also be really interesting as well. The Giants are in a very interesting position. They're stuck in no man's land. However, there are a lot of rumors that Bryce Harper could be going to the Giants that have really heated up in the past week or so. And even if this team doesn't get Bryce Harper, I think it'd be a very interesting rebuild, as I think it's safe to say that if the Giants don't get Bryce Harper, it will be rebuild time. Madison Bumgarner, he's not getting any better. He's not getting any younger. There have been trade rumors with him. Guys like Brandon Belt, Buster Posey, Brandon Crawford, all of whom are very good players. However, they're all on the wrong side of 30, and we are starting to see signs of declining from some of them. And I think we could get some decent hauls for all four of them. And I think even if we keep them, that would still be interesting as well, building around the veterans, trying to get one last World Series title with all of them. As of course, the Giants have been a very good team this decade, winning 3 World Series championships. And I think adding another one, probably not in the 2010s, that would mean we'd have to win Season 1, which I highly doubt. But I think we could continue this Giants dynasty and get them another ring. I think this would be a super fun team to use in franchise, and I think all of the teams that we are considering would be super fun as well. The New York Mets, the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Miami Marlins, the Washington Nationals, and the San Francisco Giants. So make sure to go vote. Link in the description. I hope you guys like the teams I am considering. I believe MLB The Show comes out on March 26th. So we'll say that the vote will end on March 23rd. So that is the plan. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Westlake Recruiting Special will be out today. And have a good one.
I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Loving plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Imagination, life is your creation.
Yo, hey, man!